be here today to discuss this topic of holistic leadership. Now, we've heard of different kinds of leadership and different adjectives, before the word leadership, right from autocratic and authoritarian on one side of the spectrum, and bureaucratic and transactional on one side. And on the other side, as we move towards the positive way of leading people and the more holistic way of leading people, we see leadership styles like situational leadership, where you modulate your style as per situation. Coaching style, there is the visionary style. So there are multiple such democratic style, right? And the best of all of these, obviously, is transformational leadership. Okay, and transformational leadership is actually a mix of various different kinds of styles. Now, today, what we are going to be discussing is actually over and above all of this. It's about looking at leadership from the lens of gender. Okay, so it's a completely different topic. It's adding the angle of diverse competencies to leadership, and diverse from the sense of gender. Okay, so I will be talking about this, and towards the end, there are a few questions that have flown in from people on the group, so which I will be taking as well. So first, let me just talk about what do I mean when I say a leadership that is unbiased towards the different qualities that are typically considered male and female, and also unbiased towards whether you're leading a team of women or a team of men and women, or just men. Whether you're being led by a male leader or a female leader, it is leadership which is over and above all of this. So broadly, in our tradition, in the yogic tradition, and in the Indian ancient wisdom says, even the Oriental wisdom says, that everything that exists on this universe actually has male and female qualities. Okay, so for example, I'll start with the basic. The source of energy, which is the sun, is linked with Ha. Ha is called hot, and hot is same as yang. Okay, so it's the hot element, and hot signifies a lot of action, a lot of heat, a lot of movement, a lot of initiative. Our day starts with the sun. So sun signifies the male aspect of qualities. And obviously, all of us have both male and female aspects. So let me just get that very clear. And on the other side is the moon, which is the cooling element, which is the rest and restore, the nurturing part. So there is this moon side also to each and everything that exists on this planet. And so both these Ha and Tha, and that's how the word Hatha Yoga has come about. Frankly, it's the union of, it's the balance of the left and the right. It's the balance of the hot and the cold. It's the balance of different elements which actually end up translating into our character, our competencies, and also the kind of behaviors we showcase on ground and the kind of results we showcase as a result of it. So it's very important to keep these two balanced, and that's what holistic leadership primarily is about, looking at balancing both the male and female elements of leadership within ourselves. Interestingly, in a place like Hawaii, their old traditions say that, and I like to read up on these topics of philosophy as well, which are linked in some way or the other, and they basically say that even a stone has a gender. Even a tree has a gender. So in their culture, even a tree is a male, and that has got to do with the elements that are present in the tree, primarily. So that's exactly what we're talking on the scientific side. And obviously, over the years, as we've gone by, there's been a lot of. So if there was a continuum, and there is an overlap between the yin and the yang, the Ha and the Tha, what has happened is over a period of time that overlap has increased, which is great because the gap is decreasing. A lot of stereotypes are being questioned, and a lot of. So if I look at the yin and the yang of leadership, which I will be getting into shortly, and how you can assess yourself there, and what you need to do to really, and why you need to actually balance the two in the world, especially as women. Why is it important to give enough weightage to your yin qualities? Because they are actually the most in demand in the 21st century, interestingly, and to our advantage. So it's time that we play to our strengths, and we'll get into the details of why we need to really balance this, and why can't it leadership be complete if it's just skewed towards one spectrum. But what I'm saying is that while stereotypes are being questioned over time, and the gap is decreasing, and a lot of times, a woman may be easily able to link herself to male leadership qualities, or qualities which are typically considered male, like driving results or building resilience. But for example, I link myself to competition, and I link myself to resilience. But those are the male aspects of the spectrum. At the same time, there are a lot of leaders. If you were to think of people like Mahatma Gandhi, you look at APJ Abdul Kalam, you look at Nelson Mandela, these are people who actually had a soft leadership style, just like Mother Teresa did, just like a lot of women leaders did. And similarly, there's a lot of women leaders who've emulated the male style and really gone ahead as well, right? But what I'm saying is, for your leadership to really be mature and to really be balanced and to be able to cater to a diverse group, a gender diverse group, and also to be able to give yourself, especially as women leaders, to give yourself enough credit to play to your strengths and be yourself, be an authentic leader. You need to balance the two out instead of emulating just what is the norm. Okay, so I will just be reading out a few facts and figures which I didn't want to get wrong, which is why I'm just referring to my notes out there. So just bear with me. Yes. So yeah, in a nutshell, what I'm really saying is that the complementary trait theory really says that men and women are actually wired differently at the time of birth, and that is scientifically, genetically proven as well. And obviously, that wiring is also undergoing a change as the generations proceed, progress. So that is happening, but primarily the wiring at the base level is different, and that doesn't mean that either or is better or worse. No, it actually means that it is different, but both complement each other. So unfortunately, in the world out there, the facts and figures that I want to read out now actually will make you understand how skewed the world is towards the male leadership styles, which kind of is to our disadvantage. But it is for women to actually break through that, because and then there are other set of facts and figures why we need to really break through this, and it would really impact if we were to shine with our feminine leadership styles as well. So first fact is that according to a World Bank study done in 2013, in India only 27% of the female population is working, and above 15 years of age. Okay, and globally the average is 40%. Okay, so out of all the people that can work, 27% are working. I'm looking at India right now. The second fact: overall, the labor force participation rate of women has fallen from 37% in 2004 to 27% in 2013, which means over the past years there has been a decline. Obviously, these numbers are dated, and possibly the trend is not changed much from then. So it's declined. So out of the people who were participating, that's on a trend is on the reduction side. The third, 43% of the urban working women drop out of the workforce after having kids. So caregiving, marriage, and kids are three reasons why women typically drop out. And these are also the three reasons why the pay disparity exists between men and women. And globally, around only 5% of the Fortune 500 company CEOs are women. This is a Catalyst study which was done in 2018. Okay, so these facts and figures, and yes, women earn 77% of what men earn. So it is like 10 years. We are 10 years behind uh, men. I think I've just lost the video somewhere for some reason. I will just pause, just do a quick check if I can be heard. Hi, Sharnita, it was going fine so far, but I kind of lost the video. I don't know why. It says we are having trouble playing the video. Sorry? Can you see? Sorry? You can see me? So I'll go on. I'll go on then. Okay, fair enough. Fair. Maybe I can't see it, so no problem. Okay, sure. Sorry about that. Yeah. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that the numbers for women are abysmal in the corporate space and in the workspace, and we are supposed to be 10 years behind, men as far as the earning goes. Uh, yeah. So the other fact is, interestingly, it will take 257 years for us to bridge the pay parity gap if we start now in 2020. Okay. So why am I stating all these right now? And the reason is that this brings us to the core of our problem of why the leadership is not typically holistic in the corporate environment. It's because male leadership styles are given precedence unless a male leader has taken the soft approach towards leadership and given amazing results to it, to their space as leaders. And the examples I already told you. So the first thing is that the male leadership styles are the norm, which is why if women have to succeed in that environment and be seen as leaders, they tend to emulate the male leadership style, which may be their style and or may not be their style. So, and the latter is where we fail. The latter is what is the case 60% of the times, if not 90% of the time. And that's where we fail to play to our strengths. We fail to be authentic leaders in that case. And the second thing is that the glass ceiling, yes, it does exist. So it's high time that people didn't turn a blind eye to it. It does exist, and there is a dropout in leadership. So even if there were to be soft examples of leaders, I'm using the word soft in a very casual manner, but what I'm trying to say is the yin elements of leadership, and I will take you through what those are, and they are actually the most pertinent elements of leadership in today's space. You know, so those aspects kind of get missed out because of the glass ceiling. Even if women were to succeed and kind of brave all the challenges and still end up becoming leaders in their own style, there are very few examples of those. As you saw, 5% of the Fortune 500 companies have women as leaders. So that's another reason why there are very few role models for other aspiring women to look forward to as great women leaders. There's a very interesting quote by Condoleezza Rice, and she says that there needs to be a time um, where women are not expected to lead, but they want to lead, and they should be given the space to lead. So it's a play of words, but it's a very different meaning. Instead of looking at it as something that it just should be there, that possibility should be there, but unfortunately it's not. Similarly, Sheryl Sandberg says that there needs to be a time where a lady is not called, there's no male leader or a female leader. They are actually just leaders. There needs to be a time like that. Hopefully, in the years to come, we will reach there by the efforts that we make in trying to balance and give enough weightage to the yin side of leadership. Okay, so the glass ceiling is one, the male leadership styles being the norm is one. Then there's something called the double bind. and it's a sort of a likability gap, and which is like a catch 22 situation women leaders are always finding themselves in. So what this basically says is that you can either be seen as a good leader as a woman, or you can be liked. So you are risking being liked if you're being a leader, and you're being assertive, and you being driven towards results, and you being objective and logical, which are all considered to be yang styles. So you're either going to be that, or you're going to be respected as leader, or you're going to be seen as liked. So in trying to be or not to be, and to choose or not to choose, because of our social conditioning, we tend to miss out on focusing on the leadership itself. So this is one major thing which causes women leaders to fall short at times, or get into a conundrum of sorts. And the resultant loss is seen in the numbers that I just told you. Okay, so interestingly, women make fantastic leaders, and there have been studies, and I'll quote from one of the studies, uh, which was from Zenger and Folkman. Yeah, so they fare higher on the leadership competencies that are required in the 21st century. Out of 10 competencies, they fare higher on 8 competencies. Okay, this is very interesting. And if you look at things like motivating others, fostering communication, I'm reading from the study, producing high quality work, listening to others, these are typically yin qualities, and women faring higher on them. It's not by accident, it's also by wiring to some extent, also by the social conditioning possibly to some extent, also because those are their key qualities. On the other hand, strategic planning and analyzing issues, which are the yang qualities, which is where the men and women fare equally. Interestingly, it's not that women fare low on those qualities as well. So we tend to pedal so hard, but we are not able to give enough, value or weightage in the leadership world to our own styles of leadership. It's a wake up call for us. And there are business reasons why we need to follow a holistic leadership style. And let me read those out as well. 85% of the decision making consumers are women in households. So when we are wielding so much power in our home spaces, why should we not also be the decision makers who are designing those products, which women will decide whether they'll buy or not? So that's a study by Forbes, interestingly. Group intelligence is linked to, directly correlated with, number of women on the team. And as per our scriptures, it is the women who hold the knowledge, power or knowledge. They say Ma Saraswati. We do puja of that goddess, but primarily women are linked with the intellect side of a personality as well. So it's not surprising. Women fare better on leadership competencies, which I already shared. Greater gender diversity will lead to higher revenue growth rates. This is a Gallup study. This is not out of the bag. This is a Gallup study. And the ROI also, average of 66% more of ROI would come if there are 2 or more women on the board of directors. This is a Catalyst study. Aren't these numbers interesting? I find them so compelling for us to just wake up and step into the shoes that were meant for us, which is the shoes of a leader, of a true balanced leader. And the interesting part is women are better able to balance both styles as well, because the important ones typically come naturally to them, and the rest, things like intelligence and the logic and reasoning and the analysis and the strategy, these are things that are also learned a lot through experience. So we need to first play to our strengths, get there, and then experience and learn and grow as balanced leaders. That's how, and I'm speaking more to the women currently out here, because obviously we are on a women's forum, and this topic is very, very close to my heart, and I realize I just have very few minutes left. But I'll try to sum this up and then take a few questions as well. Yeah. Yes, so the study was actually by John Gerzema, and there were 10 qualities which were considered imperative, and this is from an article published in the HBR. And there were 10 leadership qualities which were considered imperative for the 21st century. And there were about 64,000 people who were interviewed for this. This was a survey done by them. And for modern leaders, basically, there are 10 qualities. I will spell those out. It's being expressive, plan for the future, reasonable, loyal, flexible, patient, intuitive, collaborative, and then decisive and resilient. So, barring the last two of decisive and resilient, the other aspects are considered yin and are viewed as feminine, and they are among the top 10 qualities of modern leaders. So, interesting. It's very, very interesting to know this. Now, how can you figure out, and what is yin and yang? Let me just again delve a bit on that. So, if I were to spell out the differences, which I kind of have already done, yang is related with the sun, heat, and activity. Easy to remember. The basic focus for yang is accelerate, expand, initiate, dominate, activate, be rational, assertive, logical, confident, impulsive, and focus on the quantity aspect. Okay, and for the yin, it's the moon energy, moon which is linked with cold, and cold which is linked with rest. Okay, the qualities linked with that are to decelerate, adapt, which is very important in the VUCA world, nurture, extremely important when you're dealing especially with millennials. Very, very important to have a coaching and a nurturing style of leadership. You know, yield, passive, expressive, communication aspect is linked here, interpersonal relationships, emotional intelligence is linked here, introspective, again, emotional intelligence is linked here. Analysis actually comes from here. Intuition comes from here. Skeptical, again, checks and balances. Looking for signs and signals for things to go wrong. These are very important qualities of a leader. To be vigilant and to look at quality. Again, very important in the highly competitive marketplace of today. So these are basically, this is Grace LaConte's model, and these are basically, and if you look at principles, the prime differences, the feminine principles, the masculine principles, while they will be focusing on profitability, logical reasoning, competition, and power hierarchy, shareholder value, commanding and controlling, defending the interests of the parts. The feminine principles, on the other hand, focus on sustainability, which is again extremely, extremely critical to the fast changing marketplace that we have today, where you need to look at sustainability of your decisions rather than speed of decisions, you know. So that's one. Sensing what is emerging, the sensing aspect, looking for patterns, big picture thinking, intuition, emotional intelligence, collaboration, power of social networks and connection. We are in the digital space, no undermining this aspect. These are all feminine principles of leadership. Power of stakeholder engagement over stakeholder value. You know, looking at in defending the interest of the whole rather than just the parts. Inspiring and coaching styles rather than the commanding and controlling style. And the stakeholder, complete engagement rather than, I think I already said that, rather than the value. So these are primarily the differences between the focus, and we all have all the elements within us. The best thing that we can do to figure out where we fall on this continuum is to look at, there are inventories available, there are psychometric tests available, and there are also free inventories available online if you were to just get a base idea. If not that, you can do an introspection of times where you have been in leadership positions and you felt most yourself. You felt the most authentic version of yourself. What are the qualities that you've displayed in those moments when you felt best as a leader? Those are the ones that actually come naturally to you. You can corroborate that by doing interviews with people whom you have worked with. Ask them, how do they experience you as a leader? And you will get an idea of which side of the spectrum are you falling more on. And then what your job is to know those strengths, to play to those strengths, and also develop the part that you see lacking, or as an area of development. Okay, so that's typically something that you can do. And while I sum up and then I take a few questions, I already just have about 5 minutes at hand. I just want to say that it's so it's very important to understand the importance of both types of leadership, and to know your strengths and to play to your strengths. And because of the facts and figures that are shared of how skewed the environment is against us being ourselves, um, at the same time, how much the environment needs us to step into those shoes of leaders, I think it is our ownership. We need to take that ownership to brave the challenges that we have. And one great way of doing that, of course, is coming together on forums like Jobs for Her and so on. And the other is developing ourselves as leaders. So I have actually a women career advancement program that I'm launching in August on Jobs for Her, and it will be done online. And it's a coaching based journey towards leadership, and we cover various aspects of women career advancement. So developing ourselves consciously is the need of the hour. You know, it's there. The learning never stops. So I would just say before I end, I would just tell everybody to really come forward and work in a focused manner towards your own leadership, towards developing yourself as leaders. Identify your strengths and then look at the aspects that you need to bridge the gap and balance the yin and the yang. So all the best to all of you. It was lovely being here. Now let me look at a few questions which have flown in. I'll look at my phone for that. Yeah, somebody asks, Elaine asks, I'm a team lead, but I'm often unable to collaborate with my teammates. How do I assess my leadership skills? So collaboration is actually a team skill to start with, and it's a base skill. Then you move on to, managerial skills, and then you move on to leadership skills. So you have to really delve into why is it that the collaboration is not happening. Is it only happening in this particular group, or has it always been a challenge for you? So this is something that you will need to get into before you even think of the leadership styles, because collaboration would be a basic. Then first would be collaborate with people, then is manage collaboration between people. That's leadership, right? So you'll need to look at that. Anushka asks, hi, can leadership skills be inculcated by proper training? Of course, and I just answered that. You must sign up for programs, you must be part of these support groups and communities. It's a great place where women are egging each other on. Women and men are egging women to take their space under the sun. So yes, proper training definitely, and then you need to test that out as well. Somebody asked me, is there a certification for becoming a holistic leader? Sanam. So a certification has never helped anybody. Firstly, Strengths Finder, as far as I remember, had a certification, but that was strengths-based leadership. Yeah. Similarly, situational leadership has a certification, but these are more for people within the field, I would say, but also good for leaders to do, to be able to understand in which situation you should be leading in which manner. So yes, you can go ahead with those certifications, but I would say just read, and be part of such events, and there's enough and more to gain to be able to start applying. Applying is the key. Yeah. So that's that. Shifali asks, how can a good manager be a good leader? Obviously, that's the step, and I think we answered it in the previous question as well. You need to first be a good manager to be able to move towards leadership. You have to constantly keep upping the bar for yourself, and that's how you climb the ladder. It's a very broad topic, so I cannot cover it in just a few minutes. Siju asks, I find myself spending a lot of time motivating my colleagues and teammates. Does this qualify as a leader's responsibility? 100%. 100%. And if you're good at doing that, you are good at your yin side of leadership. Because motivating, coaching, inspiring, being a visionary are yin aspects, yin qualities. Resham asks, I'm a manager of a startup for the last 5 years, and with the constant attrition here, it becomes very hard to collaborate with others. How should I handle this kind of situation? Um, Now, this is a situation, and I'm not sure if it is directly linked to what could be the reason. Firstly, you have to assess that, and then be able to showcase your leadership. It's a very big question, I would say. You need to understand why the attrition is happening, how you can arrest that. Because if there is a floating population in your company and you're trying to be a great leader to that floating population, it doesn't work. But as much as they say that the leader defines the future of a team or the results of a team, actually it's the sum of all the parts, right? So the leader can be effective when the team is also stable to some extent. So I think you need to clear out the attrition piece and then move on to what kind of leadership you want to. So here in this situation, a good thing for you would be to step back, slow down, use your yin aspects, and really delve into the root of the problem, arrest that first to some extent, and then start setting up the culture of stability within your team. Um, to what extent can one's personal experience help them become good leaders? To a great extent, to the greatest extent. And I said this sometime back, none of the certifications will help you actually be a great leader. It will help you increase your knowledge. But unless applied, unless the stamp of personal experience comes on it, no change really happens on the ground. It's when you jump in, you may read as many books on swimming, but it's only when you jump into the pool is when you start learning swimming. And the first step to that is drowning. So you have to be okay with that bit of uh, failure in the beginning, So, and finally, Ankita Sen. I'm a final year student of MBA with marketing as a specialization. I want to know if persuasion skills can help me become a good leader. So, persuasion skills are required as a salesperson. Persuasion skills are required if you want to be an actor in the industry. Persuasion skills are required if you want somebody to sign up for your doodling class. Persuasion skills would be required if you want to even write for a magazine. You would need to persuade them to hire you. Persuasion skills are required in interviews. They're required to close deals. They are required to solve conflicts. Uh, Persuasion skills are required in every role that you play. But seeing them as directly linked to leadership is the biggest folly we do, and that is the controlling and the commanding principle. That is the Yang principle, which I would, in today's setup, this may have worked like a century ago or 50 years back, but in today's setup, it is the coaching, inspiring style that works better. It's the pull rather than the push that works way better. You know. So persuasion should be linked, I would say, to the function that you play or to certain task. Um, but I think inspiring is a much bigger word, which means where you're working as a leader from slight distance and yet pulling another person along in the right direction. So that is what I would say in the context of today's discussion. It was lovely being here, and please feel free to reach out and sign up for the courses that I'm putting out there on the events page on Jobs for Her. And thank you so much for your attention.